Good morning, citizens of America. This is the U.S. Citizen Journal, Daily Brief for July 31st, 2025 AD. I'm here to bring you the latest news from around the world. Let's dive into today's top stories. U.S. economy clocks 3% 2Q GDP growth, beating forecasts. Wednesday brought the first official estimate of how much the U.S. economy grew in April through June. Here's what to know. Gross domestic product grew at a 3% rate in the second quarter. That marked a rebound from the January to March quarter, when activity shrank for the first time in 3 years, at a 0.5% pace. GDP is a broad measure of goods and services produced across the country, and growth is usually quoted using a seasonally and inflation-adjusted annual rate. The second quarter rate was slightly ahead of the 2.9% estimate from the Atlanta Fed's Get Now model, which draws on recent economic data. Economists in a Wall Street Journal poll had projected 2.3% growth. But more recent indicators, including a drop in the goods trade deficit for June, pointed to a higher rate. The first quarter reading was affected by a surge in imports, which subtract from the Commerce Department's GDP calculation as companies rushed to get ahead of tariffs. Then last quarter, growth got a record boost from exports. U.S. strikes, last-minute trade deals as tariff deadline looms. The clock is ticking for trade deals. President Trump's deadline for many countries to clinch agreements or face tariff hikes expires just after midnight. Trump and administration officials have said the deadline won't be extended again. The U.S. and South Korea reached a trade deal late Wednesday that will see the Asian country face 15% tariffs, the baseline rate imposed on Japan and the European Union. Korean cars will be included in the 15% tariff rate, news that knocked Hyundai and Kia shares. Trump announced levies of 25% and 50% on goods from India and Brazil, respectively, on Wednesday. The White House also struck deals with Cambodia and Thailand, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said, as well as Pakistan, according to Trump. Fed holds interest rates steady, defying Trump's calls for cuts and rare internal dissent. The Federal Reserve has signaled that it could hold interest rates steady at least through September, as it defies Donald Trump's repeated calls for the central bank to dramatically lower borrowing costs. The central bank left borrowing costs unchanged at 4.25% to 4.5% after a meeting on Wednesday, despite an aggressive campaign by the U.S. president to slash borrowing costs to 1% and continuing uncertainty over the impact of his trade policy on the economy. Fed Governors Michelle Bowman and Christopher Waller dissented with the decision, saying the central bank should have cut rates by a 0.25 percentage point. It marked the first time since 1993 that two governors formally objected to a rate decision. Fed Chair Jay Powell said following the meeting that, "It seems to me, and to almost the whole committee, that the economy is not performing as though restrictive policy is holding it back inappropriately." Wall Street rewards tech giants AI push as Meta, Microsoft profits soar. Meta shares jumped more than 11% off the back of better-than-expected earnings and forecasts, adding more than $150 billion to its market value in a sign of Wall Street confidence as Mark Zuckerberg doubles down on his big bet on artificial intelligence. Microsoft said its quarterly profits soared thanks to record revenues from its cloud computing division, with its market value poised to pass $4 trillion as investors reckon its massive investment in artificial intelligence is paying off. Net income increased 24% year-on-year to $27.2 billion, surpassing analysts' expectations for $25.3 billion in the fourth quarter of Microsoft's fiscal year, ending June 30th. Emboldened by evidence of AI accelerating earnings, Chief Financial Officer Amy Hood said spending on data centers used to power the technology would increase further in the next 12 months. To combat population decline, China to give families annual cash payments. China announced that it will start handing out childcare subsidies across the nation in its latest push to boost birth rates after a worrying drop in recent years. The government will spend 3,600 yuan, $502, a year per child under age 3, according to the official Xinhua news agency. The assistance, effective retrospectively from January 1st this year and available regardless of the first, second, or third child, is meant as an incentive for young couples wary of rising costs of child rearing. The policy is expected to benefit more than 20 million families each year, Xinhua reported. China has previously offered tax breaks and has been working to offer more affordable daycare services, it said. The latest measure follows China's population shrinking for a third straight year in 2024. New births at 9.54 million last year was only half of the 18.8 million registered in 2016 when China lifted its one-child policy. Historical note: July 31, 1975, labor leader Jimmy Hoffa is reported missing. That's all for today's brief. Join us again tomorrow for more news and updates. This show was produced by Greg Loving, wishing you a great day ahead. Please follow and rate us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify. It helps other listeners find us. Stay informed and ad astra per astra.